welcome to this episode of the Chamber Connect podcast from the Huron Chamber of Commerce. My name is Colin Carmichael. I'm the executive director of the Huron Chamber of Commerce and the host of the podcast. And I am very pleased to have as my guest this week, JC Smit, who's the owner of Jantina's Pantry and Coffee Bar, a relatively new business. Welcome to the podcast, JC.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure to have you here. So why don't we just kick right off? Tell us all the important stuff about Jantina's Pantry and Coffee Bar. You've been open, I think, just about almost 6 months at this point. So where can we find you? What are those who are watching the video will be able to see some of your products in the background there. But so just tell us all about Jantina's Pantry.
Yeah. Okay. So we opened officially on March 10th of this year, and we're located on the main street on Josephine Street, 306 Josephine, across from the post office. And so I'm a takeout coffee bar, but I also have a little bit of seating here if you want to have a seat. I also offer some Dutch specialty favorites, if you want to call that, some Dutch foods and a lot of the Dutch candies and cookies and cakes. So I offer those favorite products. And I also have some gifts as well, some giftware. Yeah, so we have baked goods here. I serve some sandwiches as well and bagels. So I'm starting to plump up my menu a little bit more and kind of seeing what works and what doesn't, like a small business does, just kind of weighing things out all the time and finding out what people want and what they don't want. And
right. It's often that experimentation and just kind of seeing where the market leads you, as opposed to especially in a smaller town, like Wingham and that I mean, of course, people always have their own expectations of what you should be doing, probably,
yes,
but
yes, they do. Right across the board.
But it's a fine balance, right? Between running the business that you want to run and offering what customers are expecting. So what have you found in the last, in the 6 months that you've been open that's maybe surprised you, or either pleasantly or maybe unpleasantly? I think there's always, anytime there's a new venture, there's always those things you didn't anticipate, and so I'm just kind of curious what you have just found through the last few months.
Yeah, I think just being in a small town that maybe has a little bit of a lower like walk-in traffic and stuff. I think that was one of the things that I think I anticipated a little bit more of, like, let's say a morning walk-in crowd, like coffee crowd, that sort of thing. But I found like all the patterns that I know, like I've been in the restaurant and cafe industry, I've been in the retail industry off and on all my life, and you see all these patterns of how it all works, and Wingham doesn't follow any of those patterns. Not really one of them. So I've had to kind of regroup and really watch and really observe what their patterns are and what they're looking for, and adjust my whole plan, I guess you could say, according to what's walking in my door and what they're expecting, and just kind of revamping things. So I'm in the middle right now of revamping things and revamping my retail. I'm moving everything around, changing my menu. So it's going to be an ever evolving thing. Just keep trying new things and see what flies the most, and just go that way. Follow the money. So,
right. Well, quite literally, right? I mean,
yeah.
And you'll likely find that then there are the seasonal adjustments as well, right? And as we kind of come out of summer and into winter, it seems like we only have two seasons now. It just goes from summer to winter.
Yeah, it kind of slides in. Yeah, it just kind of slides right in. Yeah, I thought summer would be a little busier in Wingham with tourism and stuff. It wasn't. Instead of getting busy, it was actually going to be my slower months. I can see that
Mm.
now. It's kind of it could be different next summer. Like by the time I rotate around to the next summer and more people know that I'm here because I'm still very new and people still
Yep.
don't know I'm here. So I mean that takes time. So we'll see what the next summer brings. But yeah, it's been very interesting. Um, Learning all these new patterns. I thought I had it all figured out. I
Right.
did. I thought
Right.
I had it
Well,
all figured out because I know these industries.
right. Well,
And
because this isn't your first, your first business, your first
no,
go at this kind of thing. Maybe this is probably good opportunity then to talk about your background a little bit and what's led up to opening Antina's and kind of where what's led you here.
yeah, I guess I kind of have a diverse background, but I've worked in retail, and I actually went to school for retail management way back when, and but I also went to school for graphic design production. So I have a retail background, graphic design, marketing, um, advertising, that sales background. Um, and yeah, restaurants. So I've worked in restaurants off and on to supplement my income. So that's kind of, and my whole business kind of encompasses my background because I take care of all my own marketing, I do all my own graphic
Mhm.
design and all that. So, um, what were we talking about specifically? I tend to rattle on and then
No, that's fine. Just what led you to opening Antina's? We talked about your background a little bit,
yeah.
and are you from the area? I don't pry into your personal life, but are you from the area or newly
No,
to Huron
I'm not
County
from
or?
the area. I was born and raised in Woodstock, so that's not too far from here,
Mhm.
but I had been living in the Trent Hills area, which is just around Peterborough area for about 10 years. So I just had some family in Roxeter. I have family in
Okay.
Roxeter, and I had been visiting them. And I had been thinking about opening a retail place, and I kind of had a vision in my head. And this was the building that I'm in is the kind of building I was thinking of, the kind of unit. It's a standalone building
Mhm.
and just really quaint and cute. And I was looking for something like that. And I thought, Wingham, I don't know, it could work. It could
Yeah.
work. So I looked into the building and the unit. And it was like really reasonably priced, and it was kind of ready to go. I could move right in. I didn't have to do really a lot of renovations, and so that was good for me. And so that's kind of how that got started. And I'd been thinking about doing um, some kind of a storefront that would involve, retail. And I always liked the cafe idea. So just something cute and quaint, eclectic. I'm an artist and a musician, so my art isn't in here just yet. But I'm starting to work on my art, so it's going to be coming into my store. And um,
Well,
I have a little bit of seating here, so I'm hoping to maybe get some jam nights going or just some
sure.
intimate jam nights going and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
So
well, no shortage of cute and quaint in Huron County, and
yeah,
and no shortage of artists, but both visual artists and musicians. There's so much of that community here in Huron County that I'm sure you'll find your people if you haven't already. Although I know running a business is more than a full-time job
yeah.
and takes there's the hours that you're open, but then there's all the other hours that go into running a business and managing the business. And you talked about a lot of your background um uh, in everything from graphic design and marketing to retailing or to retail management, allows you're able to use those tools in your business now. But there's also all those other things that aren't in our skill sets. And I know when I had my business, those were the things that I had to really pay attention to, because it's really easy to just put off the stuff you don't like, and whether
Oh
that's the
yeah,
bookkeeping or whether that's the whatever it is.
definitely bookkeeping.
You're not the first. That's where I was too. The stuff we enjoy, the stuff that we love to do, that the things that are the reason we have the business in the first place, that stuff comes really easily, and it's all too tempting to spend all of your time on that and let the other stuff slide. And you and I were just talking before we started recording here about how sometimes running your own business, especially when it's just you, or even just a small number of employees, can be a lonely experience and can be somewhat isolating, because your friends and family don't necessarily understand what the pressures of running your business. And I think sometimes people think that running a small business is easier somehow, to running a big business. And it's
Yeah.
you could argue in some ways it is, but in a lot of ways it isn't, because you have to do all the things. You're the entire C-suite, as they say.
Exactly. Yeah, it can be very difficult sometimes. And if you don't have a support base, it can make it even more difficult because everything falls on your shoulders and you don't have people to draw off of. So that also means you also have to spend a lot more money to hire, whatever, handyman or people to do things, because you don't have all the family network to draw off of. So yeah, it can be, and the hours are long. So because it never stops, because you're doing everything. So I got to do everything from cleaning the bathroom to prepping food to stocking my shelves and doing my bookkeeping and doing all the marketing. So yeah, it can be isolating because I'm spending a lot of my time here. So it's difficult to get out and meet people because by the time I'm done everything, all the other stores around here are closed. So it's not like I can even just go in and go and see people. So I have to make a special effort to get out of here and do other things and find other ways to meet people. Even though I meet people here all day, which is really great for having a cafe in that sense, because I do meet a lot of really wonderful people, and I already have some really nice clientele and some regular customers, and it's a real pleasure to see them every day. But um, even though you see these people and they're wonderful, they're not necessarily a support base. So you really have to be a small business owner, you really have to be brave and courageous. You really do. And you really
Yep.
have to learn how to roll with the punches and be, you got to be able to bend. You got to be like a rooted strong like a tree, but you have to be able to really bend and really go with, everything that comes your way. And that's not always,
Yeah.
sometimes it's easy and sometimes it's not easy at all. And so I understand how other small business owners feel. And it, from the outside, it may look like, oh, she owns a business. That's really cool. It's really great, but
Yep. Yeah. I
it's a lot.
Yeah, and you also have to, not learn how, not to take things personally.
Oh,
The
yes. Oh,
the the thing that always, well, when I had my business for the first few years anyway, it just blew my mind how many people felt totally fine telling me how to run my own business.
yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
you know what you should do, and in most cases their heart was in the right place. They were trying to
Sure.
help, and but there's a million reasons behind the scenes why we didn't do XYZ, and they don't know those, and it's just, it can get a little draining when you're constantly, your customers are telling you all the things you're doing wrong, even if that's not what they're doing. It sometimes feels that way, right?
It does. Yeah, because and I still do, but especially when I open, but I still get, it's like, you should do this, you should do that. And it's interesting because a lot of those things, I did a lot of those things that people suggested, mostly because I had it in my mind. But um, you do all these things and people say, oh, you'll get more business. And so I do all these things and I didn't necessarily get more business.
No.
So I just had to finally start just listening to my own intuition. And I also learned that you can't necessarily go by what people are telling you. You have to go by what they're doing,
Right.
because lots of times what they're saying and what their actions are two different things.
Yeah.
So I learned that I have to go by what people are showing me. And that's how I base my business decisions. And that's how I base what's working in this place and what isn't, and what Wingham is capable of sustaining or not sustaining.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to take that very, very serious. I have to look around me. I just can't look at my business. I also have to look at Wingham as a whole, and see what they're all about there and what they're doing there,
Yeah.
and base some of my decisions and how I'm going to filter out retail or filter it in, or how I'm going to change my menu, or whatever it is I'm trying to do to make sure that I'm going to get the biggest bang for my buck, right? And give
Yeah.
everybody what they want, but give myself what I want. And that's tough sometimes.
Yeah, and it's difficult, I think, sometimes to discern what is when things either are or aren't working, how much of it is you and how much of it is broader things, you know. So this year, for example, with the trade dispute with the United States,
Yeah.
um, while I mean Huron County has been relatively fortunate in terms of direct impacts from tariffs. Most of our manufacturers haven't, because of the Kuzma and all that kind of stuff. But there have been impacts, and there have been, there's the uncertainty that comes from that whole situation means that some folks are tightening their belts a little bit and are holding on to their disposable income.
For sure.
That disposable income doesn't feel so disposable this year, right? And so
Mhm.
because who knows what's going to come out of the White House next week or next month, but you can't also, in your position, just say, oh well, it's just weird this year, and so you still need to figure out how to adapt to that, and how to kind of discern what is in your control and what's not in your control, right? And what which of those, how that impacts your business, which is tough when you're also running the business, and that's
Yeah.
again, that's, you're running the business, but you're also managing the business, and it can be tricky. Um, as someone who's owned a few businesses, yourself, and are now 6 months into this one. um I wonder if you have any, if you have any advice, and I recognize this is out of the blue for you, so my apologies,
Thanks
and
a
a little,
lot.
little put you on the spot here, but it just kind of, it
Okay.
just kind of came to me. And so if someone were looking at starting a business, and perhaps didn't have the experience that you've had, is there anything that you would tell that person, either a young entrepreneur or a new entrepreneur, um, that either you've learned at Jantina's Pantry or in your other ventures, that consistently you see as a miss, that people miss, that people who have businesses don't catch? We talked already about focusing on the things you don't like, because those are the ones that fall between the cracks, and but I'm just curious if there's anything else that comes to mind.
Hmm. Well, I think that the biggest thing is believing in yourself, first of all,
Mm-hmm.
and knowing who you are, knowing what you're all about, knowing what you like, and being able to stand on your own 2 feet and think for yourself, so that all those people who come to you and say, "Hey, I think you should do this and I think you should do that," that you can take their good advice. But at the end of the day, you have to know that it's going to come from you, and you have to trust yourself um, enough to make the decisions that you need to make, and not to let the things that um, recognize, like, make sure you look at everything that a business entails, and so that you know going into it that, yeah, you're going to have to do the bookkeeping, and yeah, you're going to have to clean the bathroom, you're going to have to do all these different things, and don't let that deter you. Because I think there's some things that are part of a business where people are like, oh, I don't know if I could do that, I don't know if I can do this, and so they'll just let the whole thing slide, because there may be some components that they don't believe themselves capable of doing. And I would just say, do a little bit of research and know that there's always help out there,
Mm-hmm.
that you can get from people. So, like bookkeeping, it's not my favorite thing. And when you're a new business, it can start to add up, bookkeepers and accountants. So, but you can get those bookkeepers and accountants to give you a tutorial on how to do it yourself, right? You could pay them that way.
Yeah.
And they can help you do a lot of it on your own so that you can prepare a lot of it. For example, by the time, income tax time comes around, those different sorts of things. So yeah, I think the biggest thing is just to believe in yourself and just have the courage and the bravery, and you can definitely do it. Everybody's got it in them to do whatever their passion is, whether it's a small business or anything else. If you can imagine it, then you can make it happen.
Well, that is, I think, fantastic advice, and probably a good spot to wrap things up. So I'll just give you an opportunity again to let folks know where they can find you, kind of what your hours are, at least for now. Assuming that they might change seasonally, but
Yeah,
but if
they change
anyone's
often.
watching or listening to this within the next little while anyway, yeah, if you want to just give us another little rundown on where people can find you.
Yeah, so we're in Wingham at 306 Josephine Street, across from the post office, and our hours currently, they won't vary too much, are 8 till 5 from Monday to Friday, and 9 till 3 on Saturdays, closed on Sundays, although check around, because sometimes I just open up sporadically just because I'm here and I'm not doing anything. So I'll just open my doors. So,
Right.
just come around and check. You just never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a Facebook page, I believe, as well.
Yes, so I have a Facebook page and I have a website as well. I'm on LinkedIn and Instagram, but Facebook is really my mainstay. So if you want any information, you can probably the best place to go is Facebook, because
Okay.
I post there fairly regularly.
Great.
Yeah,
Well, it's been lovely chatting with you, JC,
and you as well.
and it was a pleasure to meet you in person at the ribbon cutting not
Yes,
too long ago, which was
yes. Thank you for being there.
a nice event,
Mhm.
and we're very happy to have you as part of the Huron Chamber of Commerce, and not to. I try not to sell the chamber too much in these podcast episodes, because they're about our members, not about the chamber. But some of those things that we've talked about today, those are things that the chamber is can't uh, uh, can't solve completely, but can help. So some of that, connecting with other business owners, and kind of even if it's just commiserating or learning from each other, and dealing with some of that isolation is that's part of what networking is for, I think, broadly defined. So anyway, so we're really happy to have you in the chamber, and it's always nice to have new businesses open up in our downtowns, and to see them being supported by the in their neighborhoods. So so all the best to you through
Thank
the
you.
winter.
Hmm.
Hopefully it's not too brutal a winter
I
this
hope
year.
not.
It was although it's funny, the way weather impacts business is always hard to predict, and sometimes when you think a bad storm is going to hurt business, and ends up helping, because who doesn't want a nice warm cup of coffee when the weather's not great. So so you never really know how that's going to work out. But thanks again for coming on the podcast,
Thank you.
and I will be in for a dose of caffeine at some point soon.
Perfect. Well, we look forward to it then. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.